Good morning, everyone. My name is Debra Abraham, and I am the founder and CEO of an organization called Unique Get Together Society, UGTS for short. This organization was founded by my son and one of my 6 children and I 10 years ago. I had resigned from child protection, and I guess at that point, after being in this industry, that I love this work more. I love this work. It fills me up. But after being in the industry for about 30 years, I resigned from the ministry and cashed in my pension and decided we needed to do something different, that you were able to see sustainable change in the people we serve and the families. And so my son and I embarked on a journey of providing children with special needs a childhood. That was our passion. We noticed, the children with special needs in our community, they were invisible humans, and so were their families. So that's where we started. We started our first special needs summer camp, and then we went around to different communities in the Tri-Cities and started a partnership for special needs soccer with Port British Soccer Association. We had the very first sensory room in the community, and the organization took on a life of its own, you could say. When you let go and just let things happen, they do. And we branched out into, I don't know where it came from, but it's all ties into my story of being on a spiritual walk and letting go and surrendering. And just let things take where it's supposed to go, because at the end of the day, we're not in control of anything. So we ended up on a road where we did really well. We loved working with kids. We loved working with behaviors. We saw there was a reason for behaviors. And so it took me down a path of on a walk on and an Indigenous way of being on the land and being a human. And it has done so. It's at times it's hard for me to put into words, because it was just him and I 10 years ago, and today we're about 4 offices and 35, 40 staff, and it's the work that does it for you. So we're a registered charity. We're also very inclusive. We opened the first holistic daycare in Chilliwack in September, where all children are welcome. We have hosted anti-racism community forums and human rights community forums in partnership with the province of BC and the new anti-racism and human rights legislation. We're about diversity, equity, sustainable change, and inclusiveness. And we want to make it happen. Basically, we don't just talk it, we do the work for it, and we walk it with our families.
I would definitely agree, and I absolutely love just the space and expansion of the intersections of wellness. I think that your organization is and stands for. It's truly beautiful of how that idea started. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm curious then, in terms of the food related program as well, programming that you work with, when you first kind of started that work or that came up, what was the challenge or the problem that you were really aiming to address?
Well, our food delivery program happened in 2020 during COVID. But everybody was at lockdown, and you can only go to buy groceries for one person of the family, and the children stayed home. Well, many of our families are single parents, and one of our parents took the children to the grocery store. She left them in the vehicle, and she went in to buy groceries, and someone called the ministry. So we're like, are you serious? You don't have childcare. Everything is locked down. You can only go one person to get groceries, and they have no food. And someone calls the ministry because she left the children in the vehicle. So that was infuriating enough. So my son and I looked at each other. We're standing in the kitchen as I'm sharing the story with him. And we thought, well, why don't we start delivering food? Because all the food banks are closed to our clients. So we got together. I knew someone who was working for Food Mesh, and I called them up and I said, how can we get involved? How can we get food to our clients? So we would go once a week, we pick up groceries from Save On Foods or Safeway, wherever it was. And we started delivering to him and I. We started in my kitchen, in our kitchen at home. We would we got our IT person at the time to create a registration. They would register online, let us know what it is they want, because we didn't want to deliver food just for the sake of delivering food. We wanted to deliver what the need of the people were. If you didn't want fruit and vegetables, we didn't bring you fruit and vegetables. It was your choice. And I think we've gotten away with that kind of service. We forget that these are human beings. They have choice. They know what they want. You got to ask them, right? So they registered, they let us know what they wanted, and him and I would pick it up one day, we'd bring it home to our kitchen, his girlfriend would help us, would bag it, would look at the registration, who wanted what, and then we'd deliver it the next day. And it was the most profound joy when you walk up to a front door with a bag of food and someone is just in tears. Yeah. And today it's fully on. It's one of our most successful programs.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. And you talked a bit about, you know, how you developed that program and how it's still operating. And I'm curious in regards to what we call like indigenous or traditional knowledge. What traditional knowledge arose during the process, and then how did you reflect that in your program?
Well, I'm a sun dancer. And so I slept at least once a month. So I usually would talk to my elder about things, anything that has to do with tradition or culture, indigenous, anything. So one of the things that I wanted to really understand was traditional foods and how that affect the diet of indigenous people. And during COVID, no one could go. We had university students or college students who needed to do practicums and internships, and everything was shut down. So universities were scrambling to get these things done on virtually. And as life would happen, I happened to come across a website that bridges employers and universities for internships. I think up to date, we've done about 3,000 students has gone through our organization for internships, and they have come up with the brightest and biggest research. And they are the most creative generation of all times, because they really are the change makers, because they want the change and they don't want this kind of society. And we had 4 UBC students. I developed a project called Indigenous Food Security in British Columbia. And I met these 4 wonderful, beautiful ladies as they came on for our meeting in terms of what the research would look like. And once again, we go back to judgment based on someone's look, and I realized what I was doing. But if to me, it's not about judgment, it's about getting to know someone from their body language. So I thought, oh boy, I'm in a lot of trouble here. They're not going to understand the population. They're not going to understand food insecurity. They're not going to understand indigenous ways. How am I going to do this? So these were girls that they told us at the end of this project that I created for them to do research on indigenous food insecurity in British Columbia, that said to me, we had no idea what it was like to be hungry, because we always know food is going to be there. And it completely changed their lives. Doing that work. We do have the video on our website. I think it's about 8 minutes long.
And we'll share it out definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely share it out to folks, because it is a beautiful video. And I'm wondering if we could kind of talk about like what came from that research or work so far.
What came out of that research is for me, because I work with our Indigenous families directly, I used the knowledge that I've gotten from that research as well as what I've learned to build my relationships. It's to build relationships, because you have commonality. You can build on that. You can talk about the differences, right? We don't just do this work and not learn anything and just go about our day to day as if we're back in the clouds. It's about that relationship and that commonness that, when I went to universities, I knew nothing about Indigenous people, nothing. This was in 2006, because I was never taught it, right? And I was working at the time at a shelter in the downtown east side for youth, and there was these Indigenous youth, and I had no idea who they were. And I said to my colleague, I said, but why don't they not join in and into the conversation? And said, that's just how they are. Well, I was in university at the time, and I wanted to know why. So I took an Indigenous history course, so I can be able to interact, because it's about everybody at the end of the day. If you don't know something, go and learn about it, and share, have that open shareness of human to human.
I love that. I love it. And one of my elders early on told me, because sometimes I think we find Indigenous teachings get gatekept, and that makes sense because of the violent history. But many of my elders told me, but our teachings are for everyone. And
Yes.
they're for Mother Nature, for the earth, for the land, for this interconnected, reciprocal relationship. So yeah, no, thank you. And I'm curious in terms of this programming, then how would you say the community has responded?
Oh boy. I would say 93% of our clients or visitors, we're changing our language internally too. Our visitors or our guests are Indigenous families and youth. We have a huge response from the community because of how we work. We put the power back, and when we work with, regardless of who it is, it's you tell us. We go in with an attitude of, what do you want to do? You tell us what you want, and we'll create it with you. We don't go in with, we have all these tools. This is this is what you need, and we're going to fix you. There's no fixing anything or anyone, except for the outside society's mentality. So we go in with a sense of respect, and more than anything, we go in with love.
That's beautiful. And so what would you say, what are some lessons that you've learned from this experience?
Lots of lessons. Oh my goodness. The human spirit is incredibly powerful. The human spirit is so strong, and when we come together as one, we can do so much more. We really can. If we put all our differences aside, and color and labels and religion and culture, and just be human being, helping the human being. Yeah. At the end of the day, for me, that's what I feel, and what I've on this journey through spirituality that I've been on for the last 13 years has taught me. Love really has no rules. Sorry,
And
guys, I said me.
No, and I think you've matched this. Sometimes I think in this society are taught there's who I am as a person and who I am at work, and those are two different beings. But I feel like in your work and in your approach to this, you've found the harmony of being a whole human in how you approach all of this.
Yes,
And
you have to.
And I think that's
No, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
just me appreciating again how beautiful I think that is.
It's and I think for me, I can relate, because I am a single parent. I've been homeless with my children. I've been on welfare. I was still in the food bank lineup. I've had the lived experience. I've been through the abuse stuff. I've done the drug addicts. It's all part of it. Our life experience shape who we are. And how do I give that back? Because I've learned how to do it. Isn't it? And you want to give it back to someone else. And that's what we're
I
supposed
agree.
to do in life. Teach each other, grow, learn, develop, have fun.
I agree. I love that. And so we're just coming up to our last couple of questions here, but how do you ensure the continuity of this program? How do you keep it? How do you keep it going?
Oh boy. How do I keep it going? I don't. I have a huge team of people all behind me here that
Mm,
they oh my God, they're the most incredible group of people, that I reminisce about the quote regarding a small group, the things a small group of people can do. And
mhm,
the staff, the people that work at UGTS, the
mhm,
face of this, they're the one behind all this.
mhm,
That's where that goes to. It's not about
mhm,
one person because I couldn't do this on my own.
mhm. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And our last question for our mini lunch and learn. What are your hopes for the future of this
Oh,
program?
what are my hopes for the future? Well, I recently just decided to go back to university for my master's.
Mm,
And so my hopes for the future, um, and then I'm actually going to be taking human rights and social justice. So my hope for
mhm.
the future is to change the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're changing the world bit by bit, Deborah. I really appreciate you. I appreciate
Thank
all of
you.
your work. I'm so honored to get to share space with you and to be a part of all of the interconnections of all of our diverse programming. So thank you. We say Mi'kmaq
Thank you so
Walalan,
much.
which means thank you. And thank you to everyone who came for this mini lunch and learn.